let me take you to the book of Enoch. And why I'm now suddenly going to the book of Enoch? Well, I'm a little bit concerned about the entire idea that tons of Israelites are believing in a flat earth, and I'm just really wondering why. Why? You know, my last video about the 15 scriptures that flat earthers use to prove a flat earth but aren't actually scriptures that prove a flat earth didn't really well for some reason, which made me believe that most of you believe in a flat earth. But why? Because you can't prove it. Can you prove it? Come on, get me the proof, because there isn't. There is more proof for a round earth than a flat earth. One of the people in my comment section on that video said something about a translation from Dutch into English, the translation of bal, which is kloot. In the Netherlands, we most of the time, if we don't like you, we say klootzak, which is like, in essence, just ball sack. Okay, and in the Dutch translation of scriptures, you can literally find kloot as that word too, to describe that it is round, you know what I mean? Because a kloot, a ball, you know, is round. Now, this chapter is actually talking about seasons. And it actually, seasons prove already that the earth is going around the sun. The earth has an orbit around the sun. And the book of Enoch is going deeper into that stuff, into what Enoch saw. Enoch had a whole travel with angels, and angels pretty much showed him what the universe actually looked like from the perspective of God. And what I think is mostly annoying is the very fact that you guys completely forget the perspective of God. And that the only people who actually have seen the perspective of God is Esau at this point, because they want to go up and be like the stars. And that's why you need to understand that if it comes down on the universe and what Esau has been discovering in the universe, they wouldn't lie about that. It also wouldn't be the case if the earth was really flat. Then it would have been mean that nobody could have found America either. Nobody could find anything. The way that people navigating via the stars, they need a sextant in order to calculate the whole thing with corners. That's coordination. You understand? And certain stars you keep in the eye, and then you know which way you have to go. Go ahead, get your freaking calculator and navigate towards something with flat earth numbers, and you will not come out on the place where you want to be. It's that simple, and you can just pretend as if it is not the truth, but for real, I'm not going to just reject science simply because you guys think that it is a lie of a white man. You know what I mean? Like, for real, sure, the white man has been lying about a lot of things, but I'm sure, 1000% sure, you guys can fight me about it all you want. It's not gonna happen. The only thing that the white man is not lying about is what the universe is looking like, because they're all super enthusiastic about it. They love that shit. And me talking as a half white man from my mom's side, you know, Italian, I also think that that stuff is pretty interesting. So, you miss me with that bullshit, man. Well, you can say like, oh, but he is just a coon. Oh, okay. Yeah? Makes me mad. You might know because you guys have all kinds of stuff in your head, and I want to fucking take that distance. I don't want to deal with you guys. And again, like, for real, it's just stupid. It's just stupid. I'm just dealing with idiots. You know, if you really gonna think that the earth is flat and how that proves, oh, the book of Enoch's right. No, it does not. By the way, I am 100% sure that you guys are gonna click away. I don't care. This video is gonna stay up, just like the other video. You can just ignore all you want. But the thing is that I have not the idea that this is talking about the flat earth, and how you have the idea that it's talking about the flat earth. I got no idea about that stuff. Now, let's see. It says here, observe ye everything that takes place in the heaven, how they do not change their orbits, and the luminaries. And luminaries are stars. That's a star, which are in the heaven. So stars, also known as suns. You know, the sun is also a star. It's our star. Solar, a different word for it. How they all rise and set in order, each in its season, and transgress not against their appointed order. This already proves that the earth is going around the sun, otherwise it cannot have those seasons. Behold ye the earth, and give heed to the things which take place upon it, from first to last, how steadfast they are. And here's that word steadfast. You cannot move it. You. There is only one that can move it, and that's God. So he established that stuff. You cannot. How none of the things upon earth change, but all the works of God appear to you. So, you see, every single time the summer happens, the winter happens, The autumn happens, the spring happens, rain, thunder happens all the time, the sun shining all the time. You know what I mean? It goes under all the time because the sun is not standing still, it goes around. You will see that soon too. So you need to understand what it is about, because if you don't have an understanding of basic science, this is going to read like a mystery to you. You know, you really are not that smart. You know, like for real, you gotta know a bit of science to understand a bit what the scriptures also are talking about. Otherwise, you're going to go into the mist. You see how everything is happening. Everything is just happening the way God, Yahweh, created it. Behold, the summer and the winter, how the whole earth is filled with water, and clouds, and dew, and rain lie upon it. Observe and see how in the winter all the trees seem as though they had withered and shed all their leaves, except 14 trees, which do not lose their foliage, but retain the old foliage from 2 to 3 years till the new comes. And again, observe ye the days of summer, how the sun is above the earth over against it, and you seek shade and shelter by reason of the heat of the sun, and the earth also burns with growing heat, and so you cannot tread on the earth or on a rock by reason of its heat. Observe ye how the trees cover themselves with green leaves, and bear fruit. Wherefore give ye heed, and know with regard to all his works, and recognize how he that lived forever hath made them so. And all his works go on thus from year to year, forever, and all the tasks which they accomplish for him, and their tasks change not. But according as God hath ordained, so is it done. And behold, how the sea and the rivers in like manner accomplished and changed not their task from his commandments. But ye have not been steadfast. Ye have not been steadfast, nor done the commandments of the Lord Yahweh. But ye have turned away and spoken proud and hard words with your impure mouth against his greatness. O ye hard-hearted, ye shall find no peace. Therefore shall ye exaggerate your days, and the years of your life shall perish, and the years of your destruction shall be multiplied in eternal abomination, and ye shall find no mercy. In those days ye shall make your names an eternal abomination unto all the righteous, and by you shall all who curse. All the sinners and godless shall imprecate by you, and for you, the godless, there shall be a curse. And all the righteous shall rejoice, and there shall be forgiveness of sins, and every mercy and peace and forbearance. There shall be salvation unto them, a goodly light. And for all of you sinners, there shall be no salvation, but on you all shall abide the curse of the beast. But for the elect, there shall be light, and joy, and peace, and they shall inherit the earth. And then there shall be bestowed upon the elect wisdom, and they shall all live, and never again sin, either through ungodliness or through pride. But they who are wise shall be humble, and they shall not again transgress, nor shall they sin all the days of their life, nor shall they die of anger or wrath, but they shall complete the numbers of the days of their life. And their life shall be increased in peace, and the years of their joy shall be multiplied in eternal gladness and peace all the days of their life. So this last part is pretty much about the restoration of the true Israel. So that's already an understanding that the book of Enoch can also be read next to the 66 or 80 books. And also that you need to understand that the seasonal thing is already explained in science. And let me just get this picture here. There it is. You see that? So this is a rough scale of the planet supposed to do around the sun. So it's going around the sun, and because of that the 12 o'clock is March, and then you go around and have these different months wherein certain seasons start. You know, and you can only have that when the earth is going around the sun. And then also all the other things also comes in place. The reason why certain places are colder, for example, is also because of the very fact that the sun is not always shining at the same spot equally. So the North Pole and the South Pole are significantly colder than the equator, which got the most sunlight. If you don't understand the science, then yeah, you're gonna have debates about what actually is in scripture. But it's not that hard, because if you have a basic understanding of science, you cannot go wrong on that stuff. You really can't. And if you do, then I'm sorry, but I can't help you, for real. I then rather have lesser views, and then that it shows me that half of the world is just idiot. But if it then happens that a lot of people actually agree with this video, then it shows me that these people actually have understanding of science. But science is made by... No, it's not. Black people actually were the first that started to do science. So miss me with that bullshit. The whole thing that Enoch has done here came into the hands of the Native Americans. And where do you think the Africans and the Greeks has coming in from? The Africans have heard it also from the Native Americans and all that stuff, you know. Like, we're talking about the Book of Nephi. Seriously, all these things are conjunct together. Just go away from my channel if you don't believe me. Just, you know, do you. The thing is that I just don't know what to do with people who wanna lean towards their own understanding, in essence. Unless there is any other proof, you know, than already is established in this world, I don't wanna hear anything in my comment section about, oh, but you're just wrong. Prove it! Because for now you don't have any proof. And if you really hate that white man so much that you're gonna completely throw logic out of the window just to support your own narrative, you know, oh, the earth is flat because science is a white man's lie, then you really lost. You really lost. You know, and it's, to me, it's foolishness. Now, so this is about seasons and about a piece about the restoration of Israel. Let's go to the luminaries, because I saw a couple of people saying, oh, go to the luminaries, go to the luminaries. Okay, we're going to the luminaries, which is another word for stars, by the way. Okay, and stars are not a fireball, they are like what's it called, a fusion core. It is actually a fusion ball. The book of the courses of the luminaries, the courses of the luminaries, the orbit of it, because the sun, all these suns, all these stars, all these luminaries, these light-giving balls, they also go around one center, and all these stars then form a galaxy. And this galaxy is all together. That's one galaxy. Our galaxy is called Milky Way. And there is another galaxy called Andromeda is coming at us at the moment. So that galaxy is soon going to mix with us. You can already say the stars are coming from heaven and stuff like that. Yeah, maybe that even refers to that stuff in there. Although it's believed that that's not gonna happen in like at least 1 million, 2 million. I have to look up the actual number years. So you guys don't want to freaking research for real. You guys just want to only read the scriptures and not, you know, read into other things that can also help you out, such as science and such as other books and stuff that explains you how everything is, you know what I mean? About races, for example, and nations. But you guys want to be like all that. I don't like you. I really don't. Doesn't matter who you are. I don't like you. So that's what it is. The book of curse of luminaries of the heaven, the relations of each according to their classes, their dominion, and their seasons, according to their names and places of origins, and according to their months, which Uriel, the set-apart angel, who was with me, who is their guide, showed me. And he showed me all their laws exactly as they are, and how it is with regard to all the years of the world unto eternity, till the new creation is accomplished, which dureth till eternity. And this is the first law of the luminaries. The luminary, the sun, has its rising in the eastern portals of the heaven and its setting in the western portals of the heaven. This makes sense. If you look at the sun, it always goes up in the east and is gone in the west. You know, there is this easy thing to remember. Up in the east, gone in the west. That works better in Dutch. Go try it. Op in het oosten, weg in het westen. G-O-O and W-W. You know what I mean? So, this is what makes sense, right? Already. And I saw 6 portals in which the sun rises, and 6 portals in which the sun sets, and the moon rises and sets in these portals, and the leaders of the stars and those whom they lead, 6 in the east, and 6 in the west, and all following each other in accurate corresponding order. Also, many windows to the right and left of these portals. You know, I got this strong idea that this is actually talking about the rotation of the earth itself, and also the fact that it goes around the sun, you know, and how you just see how the stars actually, you know, go around like that. And that is possible to see when you actually speed up that thing. And there is a picture of that, of all the sides of the planet as well. You can look it up, and let's just look it up, right here. You see that, all those 4 pictures? Okay. And first there goes forth the great luminary named the sun, and his circumference is like the circumference of the heaven, and it is quite filled with emanating and heating fire, because it's the closest one. The chariot on which he ascended, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from the heaven and returns to the north in order to reach the east, and is so guided that he comes to the appropriate portal and shines in the face of the heaven. In this way, he rises in the first month in the great portal, which is the fourth, and in that fourth portal from which the sun rises in the first month are 12 windows openings from which proceed a flame when they are opened in their season. So in the seasoning, when you have the winter, the sun is looking closer to you. Lower, it's actually looks almost. And in the summer, it goes higher. This is where it's all referring to. But the thing is that you see right now what Enoch has seen is not just only the universe. It actually explains the perspective of God, which you cannot understand. Enoch had the benefit to see that. He was the one that was able to see these things. And we haven't seen that stuff, but we can explain these things in science. And we have, but you want to reject that stuff too. Oh, but don't worry, if you're worried about how and what people reject, there are also a lot of black people, that reject this book. Or the book of Nephi. You know what I mean? They want to stick with only the scriptures, the Bible. You know what I mean? They want to stick with the Bible. But I think that's stupid. And I don't give a rat's ass what you're thinking. Unless it is in my narrative, which is the truth. And if it was really not the truth, then seriously, then prove it. Because that's all you need to do. Prove it. When the sun rises in the heaven, he comes forth through that fourth portal 30 mornings in succession and sets accurately in the fourth portal in the west of the heaven. And during this period, the day becomes daily longer and the night nightly shorter to the 13th morning. On that day, the day is longer than the night by a 9th part, and the day amounts exactly to 10 parts and the night to 8 parts. So the days in the winter are actually shorter because it's getting easier and quicker dark. And in the summer it's getting longer light. So it's like later dark, you know what I mean? So this is what this is talking about. Like you have seen it. And the days become longer by 2 parts and amount to 11 parts. And the night becomes shorter and amounts to the 7 parts. So the last part is winter. And maybe even autumn and spring again, longer. So that's what you see. Do you want to go against that? Go ahead. Disprove that. And it returns to the east and enters into the 6th portal and rises and sets in the 6th portal one. And 30 mornings on account of its sign. So 30 mornings, that's a month. It's 30, sometimes it's 31. These are months. And February has even only 28 or 29. You guys want to go against it? Maybe we didn't even read all of the book of Enoch. Maybe they just still hide things, right? Because I have belief, because I see it happening in front of my face, certain things is harder to find, that they would hide things. And the sun rises from that 4th portal and sets in the 4th and returns to the 5th portal of the east 30 mornings and rises from it and sets in the 5th portal. And then the day becomes longer by 2 parts and amounts to 11 parts, and the night becomes shorter and amounts to 7 parts. And it returns to the east and enters into the 6th portal and rises and sets in the 6th portal 1 and 30 mornings. So this is 31 days. So this is, think about July's or December's, you know what I mean? Like all these months are like 31s on account of its sign. On that day, the day becomes longer than the night, and the day becomes double the night. And the day becomes 12 parts, and the night is shortened and becomes 6 parts. And the sun mounts up to make the day shorter and the night longer. And the sun returns to the east and enters into the 6th portal and rises from it and sets 30 mornings. And when 30 mornings are accomplished, the day decreases by exactly 1 part and becomes 11 parts, and the night 7. All explainable with science. And the sun goes forth from that 6th portal in the west and goes to the east and rises in the 5th portal for 30 mornings and set in the west again in the 5th western portal. On that day, the day decreases by 2 parts and amounts to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. And the sun goes forth from that 5th portal and sets in the 5th portal of the west, and rises in the 4th portal for 130 mornings on account of its sign, and sets in the west. You still keeping up? Because I do. On that day, the day is equalized with the night, and the night amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts. And the sun rises from the portal and sets in the west, and returns to the east, and rises 30 mornings in the 3rd portal, and sets in the west in the 3rd portal. And on that day, the night becomes longer than the day, and the night becomes longer than night, and day shorter than day, till the 13th morning. And the night amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the day to 8 parts. And the sun rises from that 3rd portal and sets in the 3rd portal in the west, and returns to the east, and for 30 mornings rises in the 2nd portal in the east, and in like manner sets in the 2nd portal in the west of the heaven. And on that day the night amounts to 11 parts, and the day to 7 parts. And the sun rises on that day from that 2nd portal, and sets in the west in the 2nd portal, and returns to the east into the 1st portal for 130 mornings, and set in the 1st portal in the west of the heaven. On that day the night becomes longer than, and amounts to the double of the day, and the night amounts exactly to 12 parts, and the day to 6. And the sun has traversed the divisions of his orbit, and turns again on those divisions of his orbit, and enters that portal 30 mornings, and set also in the west opposite to it. And on that night has the night decreased in length by a 9th part, and the night has become 11 parts, the day 7 parts. And the sun has returned and entered into the 2nd portal in the east, and returns on those his divisions of his orbit for 30 mornings, rising and setting. On that day the night decreases in length, and the night amounts to 10 parts, and the day to 8. And on that day the sun rises from that portal and sets in the west, and returns to the east, and rises in the 3rd portal for 130 mornings, and set in the west of the heaven. So you see that every single time it's talking about 30 or 31 days. So these are months, all of the months. And let's see, 7 days is a week. We got 4 weeks is a month. 12 months is a year. You understand that? On that day the night decreases and amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts. The night is equal to the day, and the year is exactly to its days 364. That makes sense, right? That makes all sense. So a year is exactly as to its days 364 days. That's a year. So this all makes sense, right? If it does not, this explains the month and the 12 months, that's a year, and that's 364 days. How does that explain a flat earth? Come on, I don't see it. It explains a round earth, though, and it explains an earth that goes around the sun as well. And the length of the day and of the night, and the shortness of the day and of the night arise through the course of the sun. These distinctions are made. So it comes that its course becomes daily longer, and its course nightly shorter. And this is the law and the course of the sun, and this returns as often as he returns 60 times, and rises forever and ever. And that which rises is the great luminary. The star, that's what it means, luminary, and is so named according to its appearance, according as the Lord Yahweh commanded. As he rises, so he sets, and decreases not, and rests not, but runs day and night, and his light is 7-fold brighter than that of the moon. But as regards size, they are both equal. And after his law, I saw another law dealing with the smaller luminary, which is named the moon. Now, it says not really a luminary, but it calls here a luminary, you know, because the sun is actually shining on it, and we see it as a bright object in the sky. So, but the moon in itself, if the moon would not have any sunlight, it would be a dark place. So you gotta understand that before the moon, our moon, yes, it's a luminary because it's getting illuminated, okay, by the sun. You know, so we can easily call it illumination also as well. And her circumference is like the circumference of the heaven, and their chariot in which she writes is driven by the wind, and light is given to her in measure, and her rising and setting change every month, and her days are like the days of the sun, and when her light is uniform, it amounts to the seventh part of the light of the sun, and thus she rises, and her first face in the east comes forth on the 13th morning, and on that day she becomes visible and constitutes for you the first phase of the moon on the 30th day together with the sun in the portal where the sun rises. Oh, and I'm gonna say to you already that sometimes you see the moon at day. This to you will indicate, if you see that, then you have the indication, because otherwise you would never see it. Then it would have the same idea of the sun, because it would mean that the moon would be closer to the sun, which by the way is just a bad idea, and the moon is way smaller than the sun. Look at Mercury, that planet is tightly locked there, it's burning from one side there. That's what's happening. It's gonna happen with the moon. It's gonna be just a crusty, burnt ball of mess. So the whole thing is that the moon is visible at day because of the fact that it goes around the earth, and that's why it's also setting and rising. This is why you gotta understand that the earth is round, because you cannot have setting if the earth is not round. The moon disappears behind the horizon because the horizon is the curvature of the earth, which indicates that the planet is round, and the one half of her goes forth by a seventh part, and her whole circumference is empty without light, with the exception of 1/7 part of it, the 14th part of her light. That part explains the shadow of the earth actually cast a shadow shown on the moon itself, because the sun also shines on the planet earth. So we see these different moons because of our planet itself that just casts a shadow, and if it casts a shadow you can see also that the planet is round. So you guys with your flat earth, you cannot even disprove this. You cannot. This is also kind of what is meant with it moves not. You cannot disprove it, and you can also not move it because you are not God. And when she received 1/7 part of the half of her lights amount to 1/7 part and the half thereof, and she sets with the sun. When the sun rises, the moon rises with him and receives the half of 1 part of the light. And in that night, in the beginning of her morning, in the commencement of the lunar day, the moon sets with the sun and is invisible that night with the 14 parts and the half of one of them. And she rises on a day with exactly a 7th part and comes forth and proceeds from the rising of the sun, and in the remaining days she becomes bright in the 13 parts. Bright meaning full moon. And I saw another course, a law for her, how according to that law she performed her monthly revolution. That's not gonna happen if it would be having a bigger trajectory, or aka not around the planet. It seems that the moon goes around our planet in a month, which is 4 weeks. So this is how it works. And all these, Uriel, the holy angel, who is the leader of them, all showed to me, and their positions. And I wrote down their positions as he showed them to me. And I wrote down their month as they were, and the appearance of their lights, till 15 days were accomplished. In single 7 parts she accomplishes all her light in the east, and in single 7 parts accomplishes all her darkness in the west. And in certain months she alters her settings, and in certain months she pursues her own peculiar course. In 2 months the moon sets with the sun. In those 2 middle portals, the 3rd and the 4th, she goes forth for 7 days and turns about and returns again to the portal where the sun rises and accomplishes all her light, and she recedes from the sun, and in the 8 days enters the 6th portal from which the sun goes forth. And when the sun goes forth from the 4th portal, she goes forth 7 days. So this is already about how you can see it that day. Until she goes forth from the 5th and turns back again in 7 days into the 4th portal and accomplishes all her light, and she recedes and enters into the 1st portal in 8 days, and she returns again in 7 days into the 4th portal from which the sun goes forth. Thus I saw their position, how the moons rose and the sun set in those days. So imagine if you were able to go to, let's say, Jupiter. You cannot, by the way, it's a gas planet, okay? But Why I say Jupiter is because it has many moons. And see what you're gonna see right there. It's the same stuff as this, but then with many more moons. Mars, same thing. Every planet that got a moon, you got this explanation. And unless there is another law, because the thing is that Einstein, for example, explained, for example, that the universe is continuous, meaning that the universe is actually one time. Everything happens at the same time, which explains to me that the Most High Yahweh is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So the universe is continuous. You know, it's one continuous thing. So what's happening today is happening today. There aren't actually days for the universe. There are only days because we have to think in days. This is how we say it, and in science, this is how we perceive it. What you see here is what we perceive on our own planet. And you can explain this with science as well. And many people have been explaining it too. But you guys want to reject that. But this is the same. This doesn't explain a flat earth. Because a flat earth, you would have been able to see the moon every single time, no matter where it is. And yeah, it would become smaller and bigger, but that's it. Like, and also the gravity, you know, mostly is also because of the moon. The moon and the earth has different poles of gravity, and this is how, you know, they stick together. You know what I mean? Like, this is how they stick together. Because gravity, which is an energy, you know, really is because of the inside of the planet Earth, which is metallic, and metal is magnetic, and gravity in its actually purest explanation is magnetation. You know what I mean? Somebody that doesn't know about science is not going to be able to explain that stuff at all. I'm already 38 minutes in. You just gonna read the rest. Go read the rest, because it's all the same. All of it is the same. So if you want to disprove it, then I want to see those things, but it's not going to make any sense. You gotta think about this, man. This is all the same. This is all the same. There's still a whole text, but you don't have to. Believe me. But this is the truth. So I'm gonna see you in the next video. It's gonna be interesting to see a whole discussion on my own comment section happening. I don't think I will inject myself in this discussion. I just want to hear what you guys have to say about it too. And I know most of you guys don't want to follow me because of the very fact because I believe in a round earth. But I think in this case the debate should be open. I really don't care. But let's debate it, you know, like let's debate it. Because, you know, this all proves a round earth. It cannot actually prove a flat earth. And if so, how?